Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. My name is Declan and thank you so much for joining me for tonight's video. If you are new to my channel, then be sure to check out my Weird World playlist right here on YouTube. I've covered so many interesting cases and I'm sure there's lots for you to enjoy. Welcome to a brand new series I'm calling Weird World Web, where I'm going to sit down and read extremely creepy stories, real life stories that real people have posted to the internet. Let's get right into it. Okay, so I have my laptop right here in front of me, and I'm going to just be reading the stories just as they are and giving you guys a kind of commentary on them. So the first one is called The Stalker Uber Driver, and I've read a little bit through this and it's quite creepy. This happened a couple of months ago, December of last year. I started working at a new job in the mall and had to work for most of Boxing Day. I was done by 10 PM and transit seemed to have ended at 7 PM. I'm a student who didn't go home for the holidays during this job and never had to deal with the holiday transit hours. So basically what they're saying is they had no idea that there wouldn't be like a regular schedule that didn't change, I presume. We had a casual conversation during the drive back and he learned about where I worked and how I'm living on my own for the time being since my roommates went to their own hometowns. Okay, wait a minute. First of all, that is so stupid to tell a stranger that you're living alone. You never do that. Even if you are living alone, you just lie and say that you're living with someone else, because guess what? There is really creepy people out there. The person continues to say, fast forward to the next day. Around 6 PM, this driver walks into the store and tries to strike a conversation with me, but I told him I had to get back to work. He also asked if we could hang out later, to which I said no, and he left. Okay, that's a really strange, very abrupt encounter that this person's had. At the end of the shift, 10 PM, I walked out of the store, planning to take transit. As soon as I stepped out the store, the driver immediately pulled up next to me and offered to give me a free ride back home. After going back and forth with me declining and him saying, "It's free," I decided to walk away and caught a bus home. I was pretty overwhelmed by the fact that he showed up to my workplace and waited 3 hours until I was done with my work to offer me a ride home. I've reported this Uber and they've notified me that they have suspended this driver, provided me with a full refund, and gave me a link to provide to the police if I plan on filing a report. The person also added at the end of this story, "Silly of me to give any information like that to a stranger, but I hope I never have to meet that driver again, who appeared twice my age, knows where I work and live, learnt a lesson 110%. Okay, that is a very bizarre story because I totally get it. Like, you want to be able to have a conversation with someone and not fear that they're going to turn into a potential stalker or creep. Okay, so moving on to the next story, I think we've learned a valuable lesson about not telling people where we live. I was fishing alone along a stretch of the river after work one day. The same car drove by me really slowly half a dozen times, both directions. I got a bit creeped out, so when I heard it coming again, I pulled out my phone and pretended I was talking to someone. A guy looking like a creepy hillbilly, think the cop killer in the movie House of a Thousand Corpses. Okay, I've never seen that, so I'm going to put a picture on the screen right here. This guy got out of his car, paced back and forth a couple of times near his still open door, and came at me with his fists clenched, holding something in a manic, tunnel vision and aggressive and somewhat dazed posture. As he neared me, I started describing him to the imaginary person on the other line. I did not make a real phone call because the person pulled up and it happened all kind of fast. It freaked the person out and they ran back to their car and sped off, and then they put a word I'm not going to say on my channel. I called the local police and reported it. I sincerely think I avoided some serious danger. The person was clearly not coming over to see how the fishing was, nor was I on private property and was about to get kicked off by the landowner, etc. Okay, so I think it would be easy for me to sit here and say that I think this person should have called the police immediately. Now, I know they said they didn't really have a chance because it all happened quite quick, but instead of sitting pretending that you were calling someone or on the phone to someone, you should have ran the other direction and really called the police. So this next story is posted by someone called PM Me Your Poem. They said that they were laying in bed one night, it's pitch black, and apart from the light creeping in under the door from the landing, my mum was actually with me in the same room as we had just moved in and she was sleeping on the floor. I look up and the door slowly creaks open and an oldish woman peers around the door, looks at me and goes away. I just thought I was in a nightmare and I turned around real fast and went under the covers hoping I would just wake up. Then I will never forget my mum whispering to me, "Did you just see someone peer around the door?" Okay, either someone just broke into your home, which I doubt it would be an elderly woman unless she was lost and confused, or you just had a paranormal experience, which in that case, you have two options. You can either stay around to see how this is going to pan out, or you can get the hell out of there. So now that we've got a little bit of the short stories out the way, now we're going to move on to the longer ones, and some of these are extremely creepy. This next story is called The Haunted House from Hell. This story was posted by the username Creepy Tales of the Web, and it was posted to Tumblr. My mum, younger brother, and I lived in a house for 8 years. For the first few years we lived there, we didn't talk about what happened because we didn't really want to acknowledge it, but my brother and I had experienced some of the same things in this house. We felt like we were being watched almost the entire time, and would often get this feeling that if we didn't leave the space right there and then, terrible things would happen. Now this house is pretty big too. There's a basement with the stairs accessible through the kitchen, with the washer and the dryer against the wall right by the stairs, and an old wooden door in the back that leads up to the backyard. Then there's my mum's bed and bathroom in the back as an add-on. The second floor has mine and my brother's room side by side, with the bathroom and computer room across the hall. The basement freaked me and my brother out to the point where we wouldn't go down there alone anymore, no matter what. I had gone down there one day in the winter to put laundry in and found that the back door was halfway open. The door didn't have a lock on it, but it did have a heavy metal pipe shoved under the handle to keep it shut, and this pipe required 2 people to move it. One of the last times I went down there alone, the light switched off, and when my brother finally got to the switch, I found myself crouched on the floor, screaming. There had been a few small events throughout the years, such as finding cupboard doors opened, seeing figures in the passing, or the laundry chute flap door falling on me. For a couple of months I'd come home from school and take a shower in my mum's bathroom while she was at work, and my brother was at my grandma's. I kept hearing knocking of the door and the sound of a child giggling every single time I'd go out to see if anyone was home. One night I was in the computer room looking out the window trying to get a video of the thunderstorm. I happened to pause the video and noticed a figure in the reflection of the window. I turned around and was overwhelmed with fear as I saw the room was empty. Another day I was in the dining room doing my homework when I had to run down to the basement for laundry and didn't want to call my brother downstairs to go with me. I went down and kept hearing a creaking noise, like someone was standing above and shifting their weight around, but based on the setup of the house, that was impossible. When I come upstairs, my brother met me in the kitchen, clutching a Bible and a cross, and hysterically repeated that he's angry you went down there and he's coming to get you. He's so mad he's coming up here. Talking about an old man's spirit in the basement that we had both seen on multiple occasions. And when I finally got him to calm down and moved us away from the basement stairs, we heard this massive crash from upstairs. It was so big that it shook the house, and we ran outside to wait on our mum coming home. We later went in to see what had fallen and found that nothing was out of place. When we finally moved into the new house, it was such an incredible relief to not be terrified of the house. I don't even know what to say to that one. That is hella creepy, and I would have been out of there immediately. The next story was also posted to Tumblr, and this is called The Ghost Crying. In the fall of 2010, I was studying abroad in Florence, Italy. I lived in an apartment with several other girls in a building that was over 500 years old. I know this because a girl threw up on the stairs the year before, and the school was charged a great deal of money for destroying a staircase older than America. America isn't 500 years old? Okay, you learn something new every day. Everything was normal until October. I was sitting on the bed and only 2 roommates were home. I found that odd, and I had thought that the girl who it sounded like, let's call her Jane, had already gone to bed hours before. I got up to see what was wrong though. My bedroom door faced the kitchen door at the end of the hallway that connected the bathrooms to the rest of the apartment, and when I stepped out, I saw my other roommate that was home. So I asked if she heard Jane crying in the bathroom. She had not, so I walked over to the bathrooms. I called out Jane's name, but didn't hear a reply. The wing was empty. I walked over to Jane's room where I peeked and saw her sleeping. I figured I was just hearing things because there was no way that anyone was in the bathrooms could have just snuck past me. Nothing happened for the next couple of weeks until I was completely alone in the apartment. It was around 1:30 AM again, and I was sitting on my bed, messaging my friends back home when I heard it. Like a recording, I heard the same girl crying. This time, I was frozen in fear because I knew that I was completely alone. After some silence, I found my voice and asked aloud in Florentine if someone was there. A few seconds went by when the wall I was leaning against, the wall to the bathrooms, shook with a bang, like someone had slammed their fist into it. I need enough myself. I may have peed a little. I didn't hear the crying again until September when, you guessed it, I was alone in the apartment again. in my room. Like before, the crying started around 1:30 a.m. I heard the same female whimpering. I sat still and didn't hear anything after. I somehow managed to fall asleep, and I swear I woke up no less than 2 times because it felt like someone was stroking my cheek. I'm not sure if it was my brain making things up, but I never wake up in the middle of the night. I never said anything until I was talking to the girl I shared the room with months later. She basically told me that she didn't want to scare me while we were living there, but every time she was alone, late on the weekends, she would hear a girl crying. I was even more freaked out when she perfectly mimicked the crying I had been hearing for months. None of our other roommates ever heard the crying, but we're not sure if it's because they weren't directly against the bathroom wall. And I will not be booking a stay in that hotel. The last and final story that I'm going to tell you guys tonight is one called Cousin Ian. When I was 5, I would visit my Aunt Rosemary for a holiday. I was flown out from North Carolina all the way to Vermont. So it's the day before Christmas. My Aunt Rosemary takes me, my little sister, and my cousin Katie to this weird barn show. I was really interested in it until I was told there was going to be horses. As expected, the whole thing was pretty damn boring. The only fun part was when we got on the hayride and Aunt Rosemary would not stop cracking jokes that were probably only funny when she was a teenager. This next part is interesting. The hayride ends, we get out of the horse-drawn cart and head into a little diner. Aunt Rosemary said that she was going to order us some grub, while cousin Katie was busy chatting with her friends. I remember sitting down in front of the checkerboard table with a set of black and white chips to the side. I was staring at the board for maybe 2 minutes when I heard someone talk to me. I look up and I didn't recognise the man. "I'm Cousin Ian. Want to play a game of checkers?" I mean, of course I said yes. He said he was my cousin and he was away for a long time. Not only that, but I really wanted to play checkers. 10 minutes of me my way through the game and Ian allowing me to do so, I finally got all the white checkers off the board. I celebrated my victory as he rubbed my head and told me he had to go. Years later, when I was 12 and went back to visit Aunt Rosemary, I brought up the story and asked if she remembered Cousin Ian. She said of course she remembers Cousin Ian. He died 13 years ago. I really hope that you guys enjoyed these spooky true stories. This is going to be a new series here on my channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on all social medias. It is just Declan Finesse. And I will hopefully see you guys in my next video. Bye.